Question in the back.
Just a point of information, are the columns shifted on the review 6 issues just like there's a 28 that's not in the column?
That's on the table.
Yes.
Yes, the columns are shifted. Move all those numbers, 3 numbers, 1 column right.
Thank you.
Myron?
I don't see on there any reference to the 3-month membership that was in the original. Has that been dropped?
Bill? The question about the 3 months.
I think what we're looking to do there is just do the 3 months as a promotional membership this year, and then we can put them in next year, because we need a little chance and time to tinker with it to make sure we get the right pricing and make sure there's no unforeseen consequences of its implementation.
My major comment is that a few years ago, Phoenix, I believe, or was it Orlando last time, I don't remember for sure. There was a mandate set to the board that said to reduce the number of categories for memberships. Instead, they have increased. In fact, they have doubled since that time. If my count is correct, including JTP, you can pay 50 different amounts to become a member of the United States Chess Federation. Okay, we've got these 10 categories, plus on page 3 there's all of these other categories, and that totals 48. The JTP is, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I would really like to see 1 member, 1 price. I know that's not going to happen. I'll square mine if you take the square root of yours.
Can I just make 2 quick points? One was, that was part of what we originally intended to do with our ADM. There were some categories we reduced. I would also remind this body that yesterday, in your infinite wisdom, I'm sure, you chose to add another category. So, you could say you want to subtract them, but walk the walk, talk the talk, walk the walk.
David, we're going to have an ADM that I think is going to meet your needs. I'm sorry, not an ADM, but a amendment to this a little bit later.
Is that mic on?
Sorry, I don't want to break this. I'm probably at the wrong microphone, but I think it's been mentioned that the increases are in the least sensitive categories, and I actually find that contrary to my experience. So right now, there's a $4 increase in the adult magazine price, a $6 increase in the adult no magazine price, the same for the senior, and then 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1 increases in the next several categories, which means that the Scholastic members, which I'm a big fan of, are only increasing in $1 or $2. Now, you'll notice that if you go over the previous ADM, which is moot now, that the increases for the Scholastic Committee for the Scholastic memberships were much higher. And the Scholastic members have a very strong advocate in the Scholastic Committee. And the Scholastic Committee has said, no, you can't do that for our members, and I appreciate that. But somebody needs to speak up on behalf of the adult members. It's ridiculous to have an increase of $4 and an increase in $6 in the category where we're losing the most members. I mean, everybody says, oh no, there's not enough adult members. Oh no, that's the problem we face in Michigan Chess all the time. We lose adult members. And here you are taxing the category that you want to gain the most members in by an increase in $4 or $6. And in about a month, I'm going to run a tournament in Michigan. That's our annual state membership, or state open tournament. And the entry fee for the top section is like $60, almost $70. And there's the Michigan Chess membership that you need to renew. And there's the US Chess membership that you need to renew. And it costs you $100 in your just pay to play before you even get through going to the hotel. People wonder why there aren't enough people here. The hotel cost is $99 a night. You can't afford to stay here for 9 days for $99 a night. It's just not in people's budgets. So you have to think about the big picture, and taxing them a little bit in this one place, it just all adds up.
these increases will go into effect January 1st.
I knew that.
After your tournament.
I knew that.
Illinois, I noticed, and it was already there anyway, you have the youth with 12 issues and 6 issues. What's the reasoning behind that? And if it's a good reasoning, why isn't it carried over to maybe some of the other categories?
Oh, no, not more categories.
I don't know why it's there in the first place, right?
If I can explain. Tom Brownstone is the one who put this table together for me. My guess is that he put that line in so that it was clear what the options were in that there really would be no 12-issue youth. That would be young adult from the standpoint of what's on the website. That's more a matter of clarification. It's not really creating another subcategory.
Thank you.
Actually, let me clarify. Steve Shutt is the gentleman who originally typed this up. I just formatted it and handed it off to Mike Nolan.
Anybody else want to take blame?
Yeah, I will actually. But it is what it is now.
Mike is correct.
All right, regarding the problem that Jennifer Skidmore addressed about the tournament in Michigan that would have all these fees, and that this was adding $4 to the total, that's not correct. We'd only add $1 to the total, because currently there is no affiliate commission for adult or senior. Under this proposal, it would be a $3 commission, so any affiliate that's concerned about the total can just waive, making it $3 on that commission, and the total that they would have to charge really is only increasing by $1. Now, I'd like to also address the issue of simplification. The board has considered this carefully, not only this time, but also in 2008 when we had a lot of dues changes. And everybody seems to be for simplification, but cut out somebody else's categories. Leave the ones I like. When we changed from to make every category have a premium and a regular, that particular change has proved to be financially extremely advantageous to USCF. I don't think we should consider changing that. I do sympathize with the idea of getting rid of some of the categories. One category that we thought could be done away with was sustaining. So we did away with it in order to simplify, and we've already heard a proposal to bring it back. I hope that doesn't pass. I mean, it was rejected as an amendment, but apparently we haven't heard the end of that one. The board said, well, what about youth? We've got 3 categories for young people. Maybe we can go to 2. We proposed that in 2008. There was a negative reaction. We dropped it. We proposed it again this year. Again, there was a negative reaction. Again, we dropped it. I mean, these we thought were the most obvious targets for simplification. And I think, if you're going to try to get rid of senior or scholastic or some of these others, you're going to have even more opposition. So, simplification is an idea. A lot of people are for it, but then when you get to the specifics, not so many people are for it.
One other point too, there is some noticeable cleaning up as far as currently the rate for adults, if you send it into the office or you call into the office, technically the rate is $49. This does away with that. So in some part, it's also a reduction in dues for adults. And it gets away from that complication. The other thing on the simplification, really I think we ought to have 2 categories with a handful of additional discounts on top of those 2 categories. And make it that simple. And then everybody has to absorb a little bit of the pain of losing their favorite category.
Bill, I have a point of information. You have specified that the office that's things that are mailed into the office now cost $49.
Point of order. There's no such thing as a point of information. But he's not.
There is, but a point of information is when you ask a question, not when you tell somebody something.
He's basically taken the floor to
I'm
address
asking
the
a
body.
question, Brian.
Besides, it's that microphone's turn, and you seem to like to cut that one off.
The chair needs to roll.
Go ahead, Guy.
Bill, my question is, what percentage, how many people actually mail in their memberships as opposed to send it in online in the adult category? Thank you.
It's relatively small. Mike would have to come up with the exact number, but I would say under 10% would be Mike.
Yeah.
It's probably close to 10%, but I think it's a little under 10%.
Most use a credit card and get it into the office that way.
Or purchase through an affiliate. It's, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like 85% of all of our transactions are online. Is that correct?
It's a little less than that for me.
If you include tournament entries and everything.
Trying to find the, okay.
I'm going to recognize Savon. He yielded to God.
Can I respond to Bill's question? In the month of August, we processed 157 memberships by mail, 185 by phone, 681 through the TD affiliate support area, and 1,430 off the website.
A little higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was probably July.
Savon.
No, you're right, that was July.
Savon.
While I'm not a fan of seeing the increases in the dues, I understand that we are in a position that we have to do it to be able to balance our budget and to be able to move forward. I think it would be in the best position for us. I think, Bill Hall, you said that February 1st we're going to be releasing the USCF online playing system. Is that accurate?
The target dates have it available January 1st. We won't launch on January 1st.
Since these dues are going to take place January 1st, I think when we do the dues increase announcement, because we're going to have to let people know what's happening, we should tell them what their value of what they're getting as well. And that's going to be a key important thing, because it's just painful to look at this, especially to see that, quite frankly, the non-magazine options are kind of still subsidizing the people that are getting the magazine itself.
But that certainly was part of the point that was discussed with the board when the office brought the concept that we're going to have to raise a little bit here. And that's been a philosophy of ours, that when we do have some sort of dues increase established, that we bring some additional value to the table at the same time. Here, it would be with additional services. Previously, it was with a online option, and the magazine being prevalent online, so that people would have actually a choice to spend less, but it was designed to be more profitable for the USCF, to cover its Easter.
Right, I agree with that. And I would also say is maybe get rid of the affiliate commission and try to lower the due that way. I don't buy into the line of, the affiliate can go ahead and knock off the $3 for the person who's registering there. I think only a quarter or a third of transactions get processed through the affiliate themselves. I would bet that the affiliate would love it if they didn't have to process that membership and just let it be done by the individual and save them a couple of bucks instead. Because it sure is worth my time not to have to process that membership. Something else to consider.
Thank you. Brian, monetary.
I'm not opposed to increasing the membership dues if the revenue is needed, but I'm opposed to this proposal, at least with respect to the adult category. You'll notice that the proposal is to increase the premium membership, which includes the magazine, from $42 to $46 a year, with this 2- and 3-year memberships being commensurate with that. The no magazine option, the regular membership, is being increased from $34 to $40. That's a $4 increase for the people who receive the magazine, and a $6 increase for those who are not receiving the printed magazine. That's a 10% increase with the magazine, actually a little less than 10%, and a 15% increase if you are not getting the magazine. Now, what's the justification for that? You can imagine various justifications. For example, if printing and mailing costs were going down, it would make sense to reduce the difference between, to increase the no magazine option relative to the magazine option. However, that is not what is happening. In the financial workshop, we were told, in fact, that printing and mailing costs are increasing. And the budget that we will consider later has increases built into it for higher printing and mailing costs for the magazine. So that isn't the explanation. The explanation that we've been given, and it relates mainly to this category, although no one will mention specifically this category, is that the no magazine regular membership is less price sensitive than the premium membership. What does that really mean? The premium membership includes two kinds of members. The people who basically want to be members of the USCF and play in tournaments.
Your 2 minutes, 2 minutes is up. 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to finish by submitting an amendment. Mike will show the amendment, please.
Remember what the number was?
I didn't number them, and you assigned the number, so I don't know what number you assigned.
105.
Well, Mike is finding the amendment, and it'll show the details. My amendment basically is to increase the amount, increase the adult membership, premium membership, to $48 a year, and commensurate increases to the 2- and 3-year options, and to only increase the no magazine / regular membership to $39. So to introduce a bit more equity in this particular category. So I'm moving that as an amendment.
Randy, are you accepting that as a friendly amendment?
No.
Larger prints?
I'll try.
Is there a second on the amendment?
Second?
Randy, would you comment, though, on the difference that he brought out?
Well, first of all,
discussion.
First of all, it's the first chance I've had to see it. I was not privy to the fact there was going to be an amendment offered. I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything wrong with attempting to find out what the level of membership dues that members are willing to pay is, and devising your dues accordingly. This is not a structure that we've devised that that I would find to be confiscatory toward any of the categories. And so I would prefer to use what we have learned over the years as to how these kinds of dues changes might impact on actual membership numbers. So given the fact that I don't know exactly what this would mean in terms of figuring out if we would actually raise the same amount of revenue with this amendment, I would just view it as unwise at this time and would ask you to oppose it.
Any more discussion? We're ready. Brian?
Can I be recognized a second time? I'd like to just continue what I was saying.
Yes, I seconded.
Yes, Joe was a second.
I'd like to just comment further when ran out of time before, I was saying that the justification for the discrepancy is supposedly that the regular members are less price sensitive than the premium members. What does that really mean? The premium members, of course, include people who are similar to the regular members in that they play in tournaments and they are supporters of the USCF and they want to be involved in organized chess, plus they want a magazine. However, there are quite a few premium members who are not interested in playing in tournaments and do not play in tournaments and are not particularly interested in supporting the USCF. However, they want a chess magazine. The regular members are all people who want to play in tournaments because they don't get a magazine other than an online version of the magazine with their membership. So those regular members are all USCF supporters. Now, if you're a USCF supporter, you're not as price sensitive to the dues as someone who just wants a magazine. So when Randy tells you that the premium members are more price sensitive than the regular members, what he's really saying is we can't increase the dues for the magazine subscribers because they'll stop subscribing to the magazine. They're price sensitive. Whereas the regular members, those are our loyal USCF members who actually, some of them want a magazine or they don't want a magazine, but they'll stay as members and keep paying the dues. So the logic here is, even though the printed magazine is costing us more than the difference between the regular and the premium membership, let's not increase the magazine price anymore because we'll lose those members. But the regular members, we can keep sticking it to them, even to and reduce the premium. Let them pay for the increased mailing and printing costs. Right now, it costs us nearly $1 to send out a magazine and print it. In most of the categories, the difference between the regular membership and the premium membership is staying the same.
Your second 2 minutes is up. Any more discussion, Tony?
Yes. Some of you know that I can bring people from far away on opposite sides together that they thought was impossible. I know Bill Hall was amazed when he found a little session one time, and I had you guys so far apart actually talking and agreeing something. We have an amendment that we'd like you to consider. Now, do they have to vote on this other one before this amendment comes out?
Yes, they do, Tony. We have to vote on Brian's amendment.
On the first amendment?
Yes.
I'd like to bring this amendment up. I'll stop there.
Well, then call the question. You're not talking to us. You're going to call the question.
I just have a comment on the amendment.
Isn't it his turn?
Brian examined this closely, but his adult dues from 1 year to 2 years goes up by $40, but once you hit the third year, it goes up by $42. Brian, you want to change the numbers to make these somewhat sensible?
That was probably an error because I was asked to do that at the last minute. So I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Want to make the adjustment?
So we can make it. I can defer to you because you calculated it. I accept it as a friendly amendment.
What are my changes?
128 instead of 130?
Mike's ready to type if you'll give him a number.
128 instead of 130.
I don't have to run up there. Come on. We want to see you run.
Jim Gray.
I'm still peaceful state of Oklahoma.
The occasionally peaceful.
I understand Bill Goigsberg, I understand from our discussion last week, 16 hours have passed, so I'm going to ask you for Randy again. Is it still true that the new, be it promotional or not, that the new 3-month membership will replace and do away with the tournament membership?
Point of order, Mr. President, does not go to the amendment that is the current motion on the floor. It goes to the main motion.
Thank you.
Call the question.
All right, still on the amendment.
This is not exactly germane to the amendment, but it is germane to the entire issue. I asked Joanna a couple weeks ago for some costs. This has been posted in Binfo for a couple of weeks, but let me just read you a quick summary. The cost to send 12 issues of Chess Life, which really does not make any difference what membership category you're in, it costs us the same, is $11.02 a year. The cost to send 6 issues of the TLA newsletter, which is what you get if you are not getting Chess Life and you are in an adult category, is $3.07. So roughly the differential between the two is about $8. In the scholastic category, and obviously the same thing would apply in young adult. In youth, where they only get 6 issues, then the cost is $5.51 to send 6 issues of Chess Life, and still $3.07 to send 6 issues of the TLA newsletter. For the scholastic category, where they get a different set of publications, the cost to send 6 issues of Chess Life for kids is $4.31. The cost to send 3 issues of the scholastic TLA newsletter is $1.47. So that gives you the differential between the rates for the different magazine services that they get.
Okay, still working on the amendment. Can we vote on the amendment, or you want to talk to the amendment? Yes.
It's his turn.
For point of information, I think takes precedence.
Go ahead.
Brian, have you computed the financial impact of your proposal, what this will do to the budget? Because we don't know if this is budget neutral or not.
I do not know the answer to your question. Unfortunately, I don't have all of the information available to do that calculation. So I came up with these numbers basically to maintain the equity between the categories, with the hope that since both of them represent increases over what we have now, that it would be a progress on the
Sounds like we're buying a pig in a poke.
I can address that.
Tony?
Okay. In order to bring all these new groups now in together, I'm trying to get everybody together from the issue of 1 fee to 30+ fees. I will now call the question.
Okay. Question's been called. Any objection to calling the question? Hearing none. All in favor of the amendment, Monarch's Head amendment, raise your badges. All opposed, raise your badges. Abstain. Motion amendment fails. Back to the main motion.
Yes.
A point of information. Would it be possible for Mike Nolan to put up the distribution of the membership categories and our members on the screen so that we could actually see which categories were influenced the most?
I've got something that might work on that. Hold on a second.
I remember that I think last year or 2 years ago you had a nice little graph of all the members, perhaps even how many we lost over time.
This might answer what you're after.
I went by age or by category. I know it doesn't have anything to do with revenue. There was enough. That's perfect. And actually, since I think that I'm having a little bit of trouble reading out there, I'll write them down and read them out loud so that everybody else can see them too. Or Mike's zooming them in. Thank you very much. Oh, that's better. All right, so it says young adult 701, adult 17,202, scholastic 28,000.
23.
Sorry, I still can't read. All right, 23,854. Youth 6049, so 6,049, and ooh, this is getting better. Okay, life 10,669. By the way, this is just completely other category, but I'm like 2 years away from my sustaining. Young young adult, and these are, oh, that's within the last month, so those don't actually play into this. It's the top categories, which go 7,000, 17,202, 23,854, 6,049 is youth, and 10,669 is life.
Okay, and this is germane to the main motion? Because,
that was a bit of information. I wanted to see the breakout of the membership categories.
okay, back to the main motion. Discussion. Tony?
Yes, main motion, we'd like to amend or substitute ADM 1125. You want to bring up Harold's 1125-3 is what you have.
Do I have that one? Is that on here?
Yes, well, yes, that's the one.
That's not Harold, that's Mike.
I'm learning.
I'm sorry. I'm groggy. I've been going since 7 till midnight last night, and I'm not awake yet this morning. That's the one that you gave him, the only one, yeah.
The one that we had all along.
What is the number?
1125-3. Okay. This hopefully, if not done now, will be done later. All the groups together. Okay, what, you want me to go ahead and start? Because that'll come up eventually. Okay, basically to form a committee.
Let's have one person talk.
People see that.
Tony has the floor.
Yes, thank you. Basically, for the committee to streamline and simplify the USCF dues structure, we'd like to refer ADM 1125 to this committee. It should be for a subcommittee. The survey is to be done, to be placed in Chess Life and Chess Life for Kids, and survey also to be sent to all USCF committees and USCF affiliates and all tournaments concerning the USCF dues structure. The rationale behind this, and all these different things. Oh, and the committee, I don't have it added in there, but I'm going to give it as a friendly amendment to mine. The committee should consist of, I think, Bill Deutschberg, the chair of LMA, the survey committee, the chair, and I think there was one other that we wanted to consider to add. Oh, yeah, LMA definitely. And here's the rationale behind this. There's various fractions who want other sections of the dues structure cut, but not theirs, and their favorite sections. And this is very true that Bill and I discussed this yesterday. The parents, and this is 100% of the parents that we have in our large kids club, find the numerous current multiple sections very confusing. The new members also find it confusing, wondering what is the best for themselves, which is usually the lowest cost. And the life members, the sustained life membership, which has been taken out, I mentioned that it is very important to the USCF. We did a calculation yesterday that $2,500 would be brought in if that number I mentioned yesterday for a sustaining member of $175 a year for 10 years, if only 10 new sustaining members came in. And we don't know how to. So these are all the things that I think, instead of every year changing from 30 to 26 to 40
I don't know if there's a
sections.
time limit on making motions.
Okay.
You're discussing your motion. It's been
Oh,
2
I'm
minutes.
giving the rationale for it. I thought some of it's up there. I'm sorry.
Okay, is there a second on Tony's motion?
Second.
Okay, we have discussion on Tony's motion.
It's an amendment to the amendment.
No, I advise the chair, I would consider this a motion to refer to committee with instructions.
All right, well, as the offer of the amendment of the motion, I would speak against it. First of all, we need the dues increase. This budget is predicated on it. About half of what would be left as unexpended balance. We can't wait to have a committee study something. I got news for you. There's no perfect tax and there's no perfect fee structure. Whatever they come up with, there's going to be just as much opposition to it on the floor as this particular option. And for that reason, I would ask you to oppose it. Let's get on with putting a budget together that works, that keeps our finances in shape.
We're not against fees increases. As a matter of fact, we'd like to see this sustaining membership as an example.
That motion failed yesterday.
Yeah, we need a speaker in favor of Tony's motion. Now we're just back to a speaker opposed.
Yeah, Mike Humpart from Virginia. Mine is really, it's a question with the proposed motion to help me understand. I don't understand what decision information would you get from a survey?
Basically, Bill has done quite a few very successful surveys. I know from experience that, well, Bill and I both, we only process mainly premium memberships. We kind of convince everybody that they should get the magazines. And we need to find out what people really want. If this motion fails now, we're going to present it later as a new ADM that people really look into this and not just sit down, just the finance. And oh, Randy, we want the finance also as one of the people that should definitely be on the subcommittee to look into what is the best for us, what is the best for everybody in the USCF. We want to bring everybody together. Most of the complaints I hear are there's too many sections.
Well, Tony's not speaking, he's answering a question, but it's still, your 2 minutes is up again. Savon.
Don't do it. Wait, don't do it.
No,
I yield. Savon, you got the floor.
Savon Moravian.
He wants to do it.
No, I don't. I don't know if this would be a friendly amendment to his or a friendly amendment to Randy's, but I agree with Randy that the budget is based on the dues increases. We cannot sit here and say no, it's not gonna be done, and we have to wait another year to sit here and study it. However, what we may be able to do that would satisfy all groups is just take the number one out of there, form a committee. That's fine, form a committee, go study it, but it's not going to stop the dues increases from going through or being talked about. Because it's a good idea to go back and look at what's going on out there. I think, I don't know if Randy would take that as a friendly amendment to sit here, because this is, I think, a substitute amendment, isn't it?
It's a motion to refer. I would consider it a motion to refer to committee with instructions.
That's the key instruction.
Yeah, I accept that as a friendly amendment.
I would think I think if we just add into Randy's, or into the executive board's amendment, or ADM, to say, let's have a committee as well as the dues increases, and then come back next year to the delegates meeting.
Point of order, if this motion is a motion to refer to committee with instructions, the only discussion of amendments can be discussion of as amendment of the instruction. You can't amend it into just a motion to have a committee. Now, and then proceed to the main motion and vote on that. If this is a motion to refer to committee, we have to vote it up or down. Then someone can make a motion to have a committee.
Brian, that's not quite true. In a motion to refer to committee, you can go into the substance of the motion which is being referred. You can't propose amendments to it, but you can discuss the substance, because it might affect what committee is sent to.
I'm not talking about the discussion, I'm talking about amendments to a motion to refer to a committee. The only amendments that you can entertain for a motion to refer to a committee with instructions would be amendments to the instructions.
Or amendments to the committee. Amendments to that motion are in order.
Yes.
Right.
But you can't say, well, let's just have a committee, but still pass the main motion. Having a committee to do a survey is a different motion. That's a main motion.
No, I agree. It should be two different projects.
I have a simple solution. Call the question.
Yes. Okay, go on. Calling the question on Tony?
On Tony, yes.
Okay.
Isn't there a substitution that somebody made to this?
No.
Let's call the question on Tony.
Okay, on Tony's on Tony's motion to refer to committee with instructions. All in favor, raise your badge. All opposed, raise your badge. Abstain. Motion. Tony's motion fails. His amendment. Now we're back to the main motion again.
Now we're back to the main ED motion, right? Okay. So I'd like to do 2 friendly amendments because you're a friendly guy. And you're on your way out, so.
I'm feeling friendlier by the minute.
To add, to include a committee to study the different rates, the different due structures, and to report back to the delegates next year.
I think we will accept that as a friendly amendment.
And then the second one would be, which you may not accept, slash the affiliate commission out and lower the dues by a couple of bucks.
Let's make that a topic for the committee to
Okay,
study.
fine. That's fine. So,
Okay. So we have a friendly accepted.
Yeah, it's accepted. All right, cool.
Okay. Further discussions on the main motion. Here.
Ken Ballou, Massachusetts. I'm not entirely sure that I understood Mr. Goichberg's explanation of how the rate for the regular adult membership, that is the option of no magazine, might only be a $1 increase. If my memory serves correctly right now, an affiliate submitting a regular adult membership must remit $34. I believe the new proposed rate would be $40 with a $3 affiliate commission, so that the affiliate would have to remit $3. I'm not sure that I understood the $1 difference.
37, not 3.
I misunderstood. I thought that applied to regular. I would like to point out that in 2008, we established the regular membership at a rate of $29 for 1 year. In 2009, we raised that to $34 for 1 year. Last year, we increased the 2- and 3-year regular membership rates. That was an oversight from 2009. This year, we're proposing to raise the 1-year regular membership rate another $6 with a $3 commission. If the affiliate were to return the commission, give up the commission and give it back to the member, that's still an increase of $8 since 2008, which is, by my rough calculation, about a 25% increase. If the affiliate charges the $3 commission, or on the website the USCF collects the $3 commission, that's about a 35% increase in that membership category in 3 years, far outstripping the pace of inflation.
Jim Gray.
Mercy.
Get to ask your question.
We have found the single tournament membership to be extremely useful. I've heard other organizers say the very same thing. I understand your reasons that appearances are that for an extra $3, look at all this extra stuff that this guy gets. Nevertheless, the fact remains the tournament membership is, I don't know anything would be more simplistic. Secondly, I would presume in the future that we are going to have other increases in normal membership dues, and that those would in turn flow through to, on a prorated basis, to the 3-month membership. And I would think that that might not apply to the single tournament membership. Third, we are talking about people who walk in and maybe they've got a $10 or a $12 bill in their pocket, and maybe they're counting some of that literally in quarters and half-dollar pieces. Would you possibly accept a friendly amendment to simply not delete the tournament membership from in this proposal?
It is as of January 1st.
I believe that the proposal no longer includes that change, although we do still intend to make that change as a promotional membership, so I'll address, the merits of what you're talking about. I think that you can look at this two ways. One is, what's in the mind of the prospective new member? You're probably right that most of them are just thinking, I only want to play in this tournament, I want to get in as cheaply as possible. They're not really thinking about the other benefits. But we representing the USCF, we're allowed to think of other issues, other things more than just what's in the mind of that member. Let me give you a personal example. When I played in my first rated tournament at the Manhattan Chess Club in 1961, I paid my entry fee. No one said anything about USCF. I had never heard of USCF. And I played the first round of the tournament. Before the second round, Hans Kroc came up to me and said, are you a member of USCF? And I said, what's that? And he said, well, that's the United States Chess Federation, and you have to be a member. And it costs $5. Now, I could afford $5, but still, I kind of resented this. What's this organization I have to join? I didn't know anything about it. And I said, well, what do I get? And Kroc said, you get a magazine every month. And I said, well, I don't need it. I really get Chess Review. So I paid the $5, but I felt kind of resentful. Then about a month later, Chess Life came in the mail. And back in those days, Chess Review was full of games, and Chess Life pretty much just had TLAs, ratings, cross tables, and just a few games. And most people thought Chess Review was much better. Well, I didn't. When I saw Chess Life, I said, wow, ratings, cross tables, I've never seen this before. This is great. And you see this tournament with a big cross table? I'm going to play in this next year. It really got me excited. Now, I'm not saying everybody is like this, but I think we still have players like this. We still have a fair number of players like this. When they go to enter the tournament, all they're thinking about is, how can I get in cheaply? But then if a magazine starts coming, and even only for 3 months, I think that's enough, some of them are going to read it and say, this is interesting. This tells me things I didn't know before. And, it's going to motivate more people, I think, to stick with it. Now, what's the drawback? Well, it'll be $15 instead of $12. That's for adults. Is that $3 so crucial? For Scholastic, it's only going to be $1. It's going to be $8 instead of $7. And it's not just the magazine. You'll get 3 months of play instead of one tournament. You get one tournament, and let's say you don't do too well, and another tournament is coming, you got to pay more dues, or no one contacts you. Sorry. My time up?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I love to hear you though. Yeah, we'll give you another 2 minutes shortly.
I have a question. I guess it's to the board regarding the intent of the motion. In the bylaws, there are 2 sentences that are not currently explicitly dealt with in this proposal. At the end of section 1, adult membership, it says that paid by mail or phone, each of these amounts is $7 additional. The same thing applies to the senior membership. Would that still be in the final proposal?
No.
Okay, so in other words, anybody who pays online pays the same rate as if they call the office or if they mail it to the office. I just want to make sure I understood the intent.
Yeah.
That might need to be added there clearly. The $7 is in the bylaws currently, correct?
Yes.
And then it needs to be removed from the bylaws. We need to have
Okay.
So the board will accept as a friendly amendment to change the bylaws and get that $7 out of the bylaws.
I just added it, yeah.
Okay. Ken Ballou.
I move to divide the question to consider the 3-month membership versus the tournament memberships separately from the remainder of the dues consideration.
Second.
Isn't that the way it is right now? It's not on there at all, so how are you going to separate it out? I don't understand it.
I believe ADM 25 refers to elimination of tournament membership.
Current motion on the street.
Ken, they put up something new at the beginning of this meeting, different from what was in the delegates call, and the 3-month membership is gone, and they're going to probably make it a, you got to turn around and talk to Bill, but they're going to make it a promotional membership instead.
It's not technically part of the
So it's not part of the motion, so how are you going to divide it out?
I see. I did not see the text of the motion. My fault.
Come on, Tim.
I call the question.
Thank you.
Mike, you're in 2/3 since the bylaws changed to that.
No, it's on the advanced agenda.
That's an amendment.
It's a friendly accepted amendment to a ADM, which requires only 50%.
Yes. As long as the issue is on the advanced agenda, the specifics are still subject to the provision regarding simple majority if it's on the advanced agenda.
Point of information. If Tim Just were not here, would we have to add an extra day to these meetings?
We have Helen this year.
The motion has been called. The motion has been called.
Point of information. Did I get an answer to our question as to the first friendly amendment on retaining the tournament memberships?
That's not in here though.
It's been removed.
Well, you've answered me that yes, it's out.
Yes.
You want the
Unequivocally, you've answered me last night and today that tournament membership is out. Jim, I just answered you that it's out, but we're intending to do it, to be honest. Great. I'm not trying to sneak anything past you. No, it's not part of the
No, intending to do the 3-month membership, intending to do away with the term.
Well, now there's two separate things right there.
To clarify there, currently, the tournament memberships are a promotional membership that's implemented by the board. So the board has the authority to remove those tournament memberships, and they would replace that with the 3-month membership. The purpose behind the choice of looking at a 3-month membership instead of the tournament membership, where there were some disturbing trends that we were seeing that really concerned us about using that program into the future. We really thought it was in the best business interest of the Federation to come up with a short-term membership where they get exposed to some of the benefits of the Federation and get away from the flat. We felt that it was some disturbing trends of it hurting membership in the industry.
Okay.
So we're clear, the 3-month membership has nothing to do with this, so we probably don't need to discuss that anymore, and we just want to vote on this motion.
Okay. Is there an objection to call the question? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion, raise your badges. All opposed to the motion, raise your badges. Abstain. Motion passes. ADM 25 is amended overnight on the screen, goes into effect January 1st. Next, ADM.
Mr. President, I think now we have deferred the ADM to deal with the budget for this ADM. Would that now be in order?
Yeah, that would be right. Okay. We were supposed to address the budget before we got to this, but we postponed the acceptance of the budget until after the due structure was realigned. And so now we're back to the accepting the budget.
That would be ADM 1107.
Okay. Do you want to talk to it a second?
Yes, thank you. Yesterday we handed out the budget. I believe there's still copies available if anybody didn't have them. As mentioned, we had put together a budget which was left a fund balance of about, I think, $85,000 between the tournament side of the budget and the general operations. That will be reduced by about $8,000 because of the changes to the due structure that were made. As I've said before, I would like to see our organization have an unreserved fund balance more in the range of about 5% a year. We're not there with this budget. We're not even quite at 3%, but I do think that it's probably the best we're able to do at this time. I'm hopeful that the office, as it has been, will continue to be diligent in examining all expenses and keeping us to the bottom line. With that, I would also like to thank some people that helped us in putting together this budget. I would thank the Finance Chair, Chuck Conru, who joined us in St. Louis for the couple days that we put this together, as well as our CFO, Joe Nana, who has been an outstanding resource to us in all things budgeting, as well as Dr. Tim Redmond and Dr. Leroy Dubek and all of the members of the LMA committee, because their assistance with helping out the USCF more broadly in its operating finances has been critical in the last couple of years. With that, I'll entertain any questions, or I'll just ask you to vote to approve the budget.
Okay, this is ADM 1107 as distributed.
Were you going to make some adjustments for the dues, or were we just going to assume that those are not material?
On the budgeted amounts,
yeah,
we will make adjustments, but Joe Nana and I haven't had a chance, given that we just figured out what they were going to be on Friday. We will go back through and make those adjustments. As I said, I suspect that they'll be about $8,000 in the aggregate, but we'll have to adjust those categories once we have a chance to do the calculations.
Randy, the budget, as we're voting on, is anticipating, guessing, a result at the end of the next fiscal year of?
A positive, an unreserved fund balance of about $75,000. And this goes along with what we talked about at the Finance Committee meeting. A budget is guidance to the office and to the Executive Board. There will be items, there will probably not be a single line item in the budget that comes out exactly the number that's in the budget. But it is our intention, at least it's my intention, and I'm sure the board that will actually be putting it into place, that we will use that as a guide and live within the numbers as circumstances permit going through the rest of the fiscal year. This is an unusual organization in that we pass a budget for a fiscal year that's already underway. So that's highly unusual, and that requires a fair amount of understanding from the delegates that the office is going to adhere to the straight and narrow, and from what I've seen in the last 5 years, they do a pretty good job of doing that.
An understanding and a sense of humor. Yes, Larry Cohen.
Yes. Do the dues change affect the newsstands price, and have we considered changing the newsstands price either up or down?
I haven't considered it, but maybe there are some that have, and it's probably something that the Publications Committee might be wanting to take a look at.
Any more discussion on the motion?
Point of information. What is the revenue impact of the membership dues changes in this budget?
As I've said at least twice, it was to be $39,000. We believe that it'll be in this budget year, which is 5 months. So my expectation will be that it'll be higher than that in the next fiscal year. Keep in mind that we always see some behavior change whenever we announce a dues change that will take effect on January 1. If people are price sensitive and they view these new rates as being inequitable to them, they could purchase memberships for up to 3 years at the current rates. And we have no way really of calculating that. I suspect that we'll probably make up in this fiscal year the $8,000 that we expect that we're going to lose from our calculations. But then that's just revenue that you're carrying forward into this year, somewhat from following this as well.
Okay, further discussion. We haven't heard from Alan Priest today. Do you have laryngitis?
I think that Mr. Bauer has eloquently presented his situation and case, and I'm just looking forward to having lived within the delegates' direction.
And I'm just going tick-tock, tick-tock.
And I think I'll be meeting Randy in the bar later.
Joel Channing. Okay, no more discussion. Let's vote on the motion. They accept the budget as presented. All in favor, raise your badges. All opposed, raise your badges. Abstain. Motion passes. Next, ADM. I have no idea where we are.
1126, I believe.
Yeah, 26.
1126.
I'm going to pass this over to the board for consideration as a promotional membership, since we need to catch up on where we are, but we've got a bunch of other stuff left.
1126 has been referred to the board. So you want this to vote?
Motion to refer to the board.
Second.
Okay, motion, second, discussion. We're going to vote. All in favor of referring to the board, raise your badges. Opposed? Abstain? That's the first pure vote I think we've had in 2 days.
27 and 28 are withdrawn.
ADM 29 from the executive board. Oh, I believe that might be withdrawn.
That's withdrawn also. It's been taken care of already.
Right. Back to, we're up to 30. Mike Atkins on blitz rules changes. There'll be blitz rules changes in ADM 30, 31, 32. Mike Atkins. You want David Coons to talk?
David, did you have workshop results on this?
This is probably the only controversial vote from the workshop and the committee. This is proposed to define blitz as 5 and 0 only. The current rule is blitz is anything from 1 minute to 10 minutes. Standard delay is 0. Standard blitz is 5 minutes. But it's allowable within the blitz rules to go from 0 to 10. And I would take it as a friendly to reduce that to 9 so it's not confusing with quick checks. However, the committee of those that voted was 2 to 3 against. The workshop was 4 to 3 in favor with 5 abstentions. If you add those up, we got a 6-6 tie.
How many voting twice? Three.
No comment.
Mike Atkins, can you speak to it?
I am just an old fogey and believe that blitz is 5-0 and never like to see it as 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and just would turn it over to the delegates to say yes or no to 5-0.
Can I ask you, Mike, if this passes, what if somebody wants to run game 8 and call it blitz? Can we still use the blitz rules and have it read?
No.
All right. I mean, my feeling is I also like the idea that everybody will know that if the word blitz is there, it's game 5. I like it as far as that goes. But I also think organizers should have freedom to do what they want. So I would not bar somebody from running game 8 or even game 15 if they want and using the blitz rules, just so long as it's announced in advance.
Carol may have a comment here.
Well, then you get in the problem of blitz eventually needs its own rating system.
Thank you,
It's
Carol.
a different rule system too.
Hey, Bill, can I run game 90 and use the blitz rule?
If you advertise it. Carol.
Yes, what about the use of delay? We have blitz rules including delay at present time. And I think the further we get away from FIDE, we are getting away from FIDE again. We refuse to allow a delay of 1 second or 2 seconds or whatever you choose in your tournament. But blitz, yes, blitz. FIDE's blitz is 3 minutes plus 2 seconds delay. I'm not asking you to do that. But I think that it's up to the organizer to be able to use a delay if he so chooses, especially in playoffs.
And Carol is correct. The current blitz rules do allow for delay, however, it's not standard.
Carol, the use of anything in a playoff isn't a rated situation. It's just something special for a tournament.
Well, I don't know if I'm for or against this thing. Fortunately, I don't have to vote. Somebody give us a recommendation on this thing?
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of this. We've had vicious arguments in my area over whether something should be following the blitz or quick rules. Silly, but people got very into it. And as far as Bill was getting to, there's no reason why you can't just announce that you're going to use the blitz rules even if it's not 5-0.
Like
It would
just
just be,
the intent is that you're not allowed to do that.
yeah, but that would be the standard. But if you announce ahead of time, why wouldn't be a major variation?
Put the word blitz in the title of the event. And it's blitz rules.
But it does clarify things nice.
What about Blitz Light?
I'm still confused as to the effect. I mean, I'd be glad to support this, making the standard that when which word blitz is used, it's 5 seconds with no delay, just so long as variations are allowed, it's fine.
That is the standard, that is the current rule, that 5-0 is the standard blitz. If you say nothing else, it's 5-0. Okay, if you announce a time control other than 5-0 and call it blitz, it's still blitz right now.
All right, but is the intent to make it non-random?
No. The sense of the group of the delegates in previous meetings, anything 5 and above is rateable. 5-minute standard time control, basic time control, and above is rateable as quick. Is rateable.
All right, so if I want to run game 8 blitz, which I don't, is that random?
Yes, today it is.
Today, but I mean, would this motion make that impossible?
Yes. Well, would it make it impossible? I'm not certain that it would make it impossible because we can have variations of the laws of chess as long as they're announced in advance. And this includes many, many things. And I would say it would include this. In my personal opinion, it still will include exceptions if announced in advance. Okay. To me, this motion really has no tremendous effect.
Tim?
Do your job. This is a procedural question. Earlier, yesterday, didn't we say that you needed 2/3 vote to pass rules changes? Is that true for this motion?
Yes.
Okay, I call the question.
Okay, objection, calling the question, seeing none. We're on to voting. It requires a 2/3 yes vote to pass. All in favor, raise your badges. All opposed, raise your badges. Okay, start over. All in favor, raise your badges. I have 30.
I only got 28, but I think some people may have put their hand down already.
Yeah.
I put mine.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can split the difference, say 29.
Okay.
All opposed, raise your
That
badges.
means it's quick rateable.
Yeah, this is blitz voting.
I'm getting 19, so.
I'm getting 23.
That's clearly not 2/3, so.
Okay.
After 25.
Motion fails.
What was the count?
29 to 21. Blitz count. Okay, ADM 1131. In Balloon from Massachusetts.
Currently, in the Blitz rules, there is an Rule 7D states that the game is won by a player whose opponent makes an illegal move, with no conditions on that rule. There are no additional conditions. However, Rule 8D, which refers to drawn games, states that a game is drawn if a player makes an illegal move, but the opponent has insufficient mating material. That condition is added. This rule proposes to add the words, provided the player has sufficient mating material as defined in Rule 7C, simply to resolve the inconsistency between these two rules.
The Rules Committee of those that voted was 4-1 in favor. The workshop was 14-0 in favor.
Further discussion, seeing none. Ready to vote? In favor of the motion, raise your badge. Against the motion, raise your badge. Abstain? 2/3. Okay, good. Motion passes. 1132, Michael Atkins of Virginia.
David, what was the workshop on this one?
Let's see, this one is, okay, there was an amendment offered by the workshop and agreeable by the maker of the motion that we will strike any reference to castling. All moves are to be made with one hand, the clock pressed with the same hand as that moves the pieces. On that change, with that change, the committee vote is 5-0, the workshop was 14-1.
And this was designed to eliminate chaos on the board with hands flying everywhere.
And originally I objected to it because it included the castling provision, either include all times when people move two pieces of wire, when multiple pieces are involved, or none. We fixed it to make it none, and that's fine with me.
It also makes us compliant with FIDE blitz rules.
It also makes it compliant with FIDE rules.
What information is castling now under this proposal, a two-handed move or a one-handed?
One-handed.
One. So 4A is eliminated?
Everything is one.
Everything is one.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, ready to vote. In favor of the motion, raise your badges. Opposed, raise your badges. Abstain, 2/3. Motion passes. ADM 33, John Farrell, Virginia.
Ladies and gentlemen, last year we had this amendment up there that was withdrawn. I believe it has some relevance to it. I put a friendly amendment to this to try to explain it a bit more.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Basically, it comes down to Rule 21E, and it states in Rule 21E as you read along, cutting down to the sentence, on principle, should not direct, a director, and playing the same tournament in the U.S. national events, and it's going to slide in here in Grand Prix events. The director cannot be a playing director. However, in club events and other events that do not involve substantial prizes, it is common practice for the director to play. Now, what it really comes down to is substantial. What do we consider substantial for this? And this is probably something that we're going to have to refer. But if we get any type of straw vote as to what a substantial prize is, and then maybe we can add in the word Grand Prix to this tournament rule.
At the workshop, we did not look at the revised rule. That just came up today. What you see in front of you, the delegates call, we did vote on 2-4, 14 against. I don't know what the vote would be had we seen this.
I do know that Jerry Weichel, at his U.S. Opens in Reno, chief tournament director, he always plays in his U.S. Opens. Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Manila, New Jersey. I've been on the ethics committee for many years, and in all the time that I've been there, and to my knowledge, there's never been even an accusation of any director making rulings incorrectly in order to favor himself. This is not really a problem. It's not broke. There's no need to fix it. The downside to this proposal is that across the country, we have many people who form chess clubs and direct tournaments because there's no place else for them to play nearby. So if you come by and say you can't play your own tournament, they're not going to form the club and everybody loses. Many of these people direct Grand Prix tournaments. All right, it doesn't take all that great of a prize fund to qualify to be a Grand Prix tournament. All right, when I was in New York, we had a director out there. Most of you know Harold Stenzel. He runs Grand Prix tournaments and plays in them all the time. Never been a hint of a complaint, and I'm sure it's true of all of the other directors. If one of them does abuse the privilege, there are many remedies available to players to solve the problem. They can go to the ethics committee, they can go to the TVCC and lodge a complaint there. This is really not a problem. Let's just kill this.
Okay, that's against the motion. Anybody speak for the motion? Yes.
Gerald Larson, Alabama. Just because the Ethics Committee hasn't heard any complaints doesn't mean problems don't happen. I know we've had several problems in Alabama, and we handled them at the state level. In very small events, yes, frequently it is necessary for the tournament director to play in order for the event to occur. However, that's true only for very small or club events. Anything bigger than that, it's a real problem when the tournament director plays. I've rarely seen it work smoothly.
For information, on the original motion, not as amended, the committee voted against 0 to 5, the workshop voted against 0 to 15.
Okay,
Richard Gumpy, Northern California.
Yes, Rich.
Just like to basically argue against this. The motion as it currently stands does not allow a director in a large event to essentially act as a house man in the first few rounds of an event, in order to eliminate buys for some players who play in some sections. I mean, I know I run a tournament where there's a 2-day merge, a 2-day, 3-day kind of tournament, and every now and then there is a need to insert myself as a player for a round, and this particular motion as it stands will not permit that to happen.
Carol.
I was chairman of the Rules Committee for 11 years before Dave took over. There were, during that period, I would say at least 5 or 6 appeals that came to the USCF appeals level regarding players, the tournament directors playing in the same tournament that they were running. Maybe that's been cured, but I'm not sure.
John Haskell.
John Haskell from Florida. Are there ever Grand Prix events with fewer than 20 players?
Yeah.
David.
I've got a senior moment. I'm not sure how long I've been chair. Since I've been chair, there has been one appeal. And it was quite a severe one, by the way. And so it did take quite a bit of discussion within the committee, but it was only one.
Okay, seeing no more discussion, we're going to vote on the motion. This is ADM 1133 as what? Oh, as revised. I couldn't hear you. Okay, as revised.
As revised. find consensus on where they stand. I mean, as a boss, no grant requirements, or do they want to have requirements at a certain level?
Here's what he really wants. He wants to know how his body feels about A, B, C, and D.
Right.
And I suspect once he knows that, he's going to refer it back to the Rules Committee for implementation or come back next year, one of those two things. How about a straw poll? How many people, should this include all Grand Prix? How many people think this motion should include all Grand Prix tournaments? It's a straw poll, it's not binding.
The chair should run the straw poll.
Okay. How many people say A? Can you read A?
No.
No what?
It's not visible back here, can't read it.
All right. There's 4 choices, A, B, C, D.
Not anymore.
Too far more to go down.
You'll find it.
Down.
Down.
There.
More. Stop.
There, okay.
All right, so should it include all Grand Prix tournaments or 6 points or 10 points or 15 points?
Go one at a time, Jim.
Right.
Straw man, one at a time.
I understand that. I'm just telling you when you start. Okay, starting with A. All in favor of A, raise your hand. Against, raise your hand. Just for it? Okay, you got 4 choices. You can't.
Okay, vote for A, B, C, or D.
You could vote for all 4 of them?
Okay. It's a straw poll. Why don't you just ask them which one they want, A, B, C, or D?
I tried to. They said you have to do it one at a time. Okay, who's all in favor of A? Who's all in favor of B? Who's all in favor of C? Who's all in favor of D?
Who's against all of them?
Who's against all of them? Is that a straw vote?
Big stage.
Seeing that, how many is against it with withdrawal?
Motion has been withdrawn. It's 11:33. We're on to 11:44. 34.
I like that idea. Let's jump like
11:34. Brian Watershead of Massachusetts. Brian, you might explain what SOFIA rules are to begin with.
Well, this is a motion to amend the rules simply to allow a variation, which would be 14B7, permitting organizers to run tournaments where draw agreements were limited or prohibited. This brings the USCF official rules of chess into line with FIDE, which has a similar rule. That kind of rule is called the SOFIA rules, although inspired by the tournament that's run in Sofia every year. But the Sofia tournament has one particular flavor of draw agreement limitations, and there are some other flavors. The workshop and the Rules Committee opposed this for 2 reasons. The first was that they thought the reference to Sofia rules was confusing, and I agree that it is confusing, and so I have submitted an amendment to this, a friendly amendment, to delete the last sentence, which removes the reference to Sofia rules. So you'll be voting, I guess, unless somebody objects to the friendly amendment, on the amendment without that last sentence. And there won't be any reference to the Sofia rules. The other objection was that this variation is already permitted by the rules, and we don't need to add any more variations. My response to that is the USCF official rules of chess are 100 pages long in the section for the rules of play. In that section, there are dozens of variations mentioned. In contrast, FIDE laws of chess are about 10 pages long, and there's only about 3 or 4 variations mentioned, and this variation is one of them. So by the FIDE obviously thinks that it's very important to mention this as a variation and to communicate to tournament organizers that draw agreements may be limited. I think that we should do the same.
The committee vote was 1 to 4 against. The workshop vote was 1 to 15 against.
Any discussion? Carol
No,
Jarecki from the state of
California.
Virgin Islands.
British Virgin Islands. It's different from the U.S. Virgin Islands. I wanted to make one comment. First of all, is that we used this 30-move minimum rule in the HB tournament, which was a huge success, and we used that before Sophia was played. So the Sophia rules actually came up after Maurice Ashley's big campaign, and we used it in the HB. I don't think this should be part of the rules of the U.S. rules of chess. It's already used. I mean, we used it, as I said, years ago when we had a huge tournament in Minnesota. I don't see any reason why we have to add this to the rules. I think it's already available as an option for any tournament director or organizer who wants to use something like this.
It has to be announced in advance to do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob Messenger, Massachusetts. I wanted to suggest that a couple of other changes be made to the motion. First of all, instead of variant, it should say variation, which is the word we use in our rules. And the word Sophia rule should not be in the title of the rule either.
That's right.
It's not in the title of the rule, it's the title of the motion, which is not relevant to the rule book.
Oh, Randy, I'm sorry, I didn't see you speak.
A question for David Coons. David, I thought I heard you say that it currently would have, a variant would have to be announced in advance, is that correct?
That's true of any variant that does not explicitly say that it does not have to be announced in advance. That's correct.
Okay, so this variant is allowed, like other variants, it would have to be announced in advance.
Yes, in advance publicity, typically something as complex as this is in the tournament, in the individual tournament handbook and our website.
So I would characterize this as a solution in search of a problem?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Carol Jarecki from the state of California, New York, and British Virgin Islands.
No, I'm not really from California. I had a question in the back, which might be relevant to this. This is avoid any kind of triple repetitions before 30 moves. In other words, and we've had this situation. It was a very famous game. I won't get into it. Of two players, triple repetition 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, because they have to get to 30 moves.
What would FIDE do?
The chief arbiter has to accept it. I cannot draw until I get permission from the chief arbiter. And if we've done this in U.S. Championship. They make 3 identical moves, and they're only going to be doing the same thing again. So sure, it's a draw. 26 moves is okay.
Isn't it 3 identical positions?
Positions, so.
No, I hate to correct Carol, but
There's ways around any rule like this.
I just
go ahead, Brian.
I just want to point out that, in fact, the motion does not have any reference to a 30-move limit. The motion allows a tournament organizer to establish a variety of different kinds of rules to limit draws. In tournaments that have used these kind of rules, there have been a lot of different ideas that have been tried. The Sophia system is to not allow draw agreements at all without permission of the arbiter. The Corsican system just prohibits them outright. Other organizers have tried the idea that Carol was talking about, which is to say no draws before 30 moves. My motion doesn't mention any specific system for limiting draws. As to the point that it's not necessary to mention this in the rules, that is probably true. However, there are dozens of variations that are mentioned in the rules because it may not be, not everybody is a Carol Jarecki who is an expert on the rules, and it may not be obvious to every organizer what is allowed in the rules and what is not allowed in the rules, and this makes it clear.
Call the question.
Question has been called. Is there an objection to calling the question? Seeing none, we're going to move on to a vote on 1134. All in favor, raise your badges. All opposed, raise your badges. Abstain. This motion fails. 1135. John Farrell from Virginia. Is it Colonel Farrell? Staff Sergeant, excuse me.
Sometimes I think Colonel. I am by far not the best to describe this. What I'd like the board to recognize is Master Sergeant Steve Rollins, retired USMC. He was the Armed Forces Chair to the USCF for 2005 to 2010. He is actually the author of this bill. And this was leftover business from last year that we were unable to push through because of our weird timing of how we go through all this in October.
Do you like this ADM?
Do what? It has. It ties things up with a nice neat bow. I'll plead the fifth.
Is there a committee that has a recommendation, a vote?
Why don't we turn this, why don't we let Mr. Rollins speak?
Yeah, let's go talk about it.
Free here, give him the floor.
You have to give him the floor.
I don't need that either. Okay, so what we found is for the Armed Forces Open Chess Tournament, we wanted to try to have an individual tournament that also gives you a team championship. And what we found in the rule book was that the section on combined events was somewhat lacking. All it says is try to avoid pairing people on the same team against each other. What we did is we created a system that let us do that effectively. We've been using it for 5 years. It works. More importantly, the people like it. And as we looked at it, we thought other people could benefit from this too. And the short version of it is you have your individual tournament using whatever tie-break system, whatever process that you announce. You have your tournament, and then from that 1 through N ranking that you get, you just apply the inverse of whatever they place. So if there's 100 people in the tournament and you placed first, you get 99 points, second place gets 98 points, etc., and you add that up for whatever that counts as a team. 4 people, 5 people, 6 players, whatever makes a team, you add their places up, give them their score, and there you have it. And so what you see is who brought the strongest players that year, that event. You know, in our case, with the Armed Forces Open Tournament, a lot of these guys have been playing each other for about 30 years, and the competition just wasn't, just being on the winning team, or on the same team in some cases, wasn't enough. They just kept looking at each other going, you know you can't beat me, right? Because they didn't have to play. So this is our way of getting past that, cutthroat, everybody play everybody, and we get an individual and a team event at the same time. Sir.
This was accepted by the Rules Committee with a vote of 4-1, and by the workshop with a vote of 15-0. As a variation, some wording may have to be modified to include the wording for our current Scholastic